3 of the Agriculture Committee. I will start by reminding you that today's meeting is in hybrid format. We are partly online, and we will always see people who are speaking as opposed to the entire room. No screenshots are allowed, nor taking photos of your screen. A motion was adopted on October 5th, 2022, and as such, the committee will resume its study on food price inflation.
To welcome 3 different witnesses. We are having issues with our representatives from the Assembly of First Nations, but we're very fortunate to have in the room from the Daily Bread Food Bank, Neil Hetherington, who serves as the Chief Executive Officer. Mr. Hetherington, welcome to the committee. And from Second Harvest Canada, someone who has appeared before this committee, no stranger to our work, Ms. Laurie Nicol. So you serve as the Chief Executive Officer. Welcome back to the committee. We look forward to hearing from you here today. The way I'm going to handle this, colleagues, if we are able to get our friends from the Assembly of First Nation online, we'll grant them 5 minutes, but I want to get started with those who are in the room. So I'm going to start with Mr. Hetherington. I'm hoping I'm getting that right. Over to you. You have up to 5 minutes.
I have the awesome privilege of being the CEO of the Daily Bread Food Bank, Canada's largest food bank based in Toronto, with a mission that everybody's right to food is one day realized. I'm here to talk about 3 points. The first is to let you know what we are seeing on the ground in the food bank sector, to provide you with some recommendations for consideration, and to give you an invitation for you to ensure that everybody's right to food is realized. On the first point, what we are seeing is unprecedented. 5.8 million Canadians are food insecure. In Toronto, with the food banks that Daily Bread serves, we used to see about 65,000 clients per month. With the pandemic, that rose from 65,000 to 120,000. And between January of 2021 and today, we are now seeing 270,000 client visits per month. 65,000 to 270,000 clients per month. If there's nothing else that you take from my testimony today, I hope you take that startling, horrific number away. The fact is that we are seeing client growth at a remarkable rate. Previous to the pandemic, we saw about 400 or so new clients per month. That number during the pandemic rose to just under 2,000 per month. And last month, we saw 12,400 new clients, people who had never used a food bank before, coming to the Daily Bread Food Bank for the first time. You've heard testimony from economists and from food producers, suppliers, and retailers, each of whom have provided their opinion as to what's driving the unprecedented food inflation that we all feel. And so I won't speak to those complex factors, but what I will speak to is the impact of food inflation that is being felt at the community level. We continue to see large proportions of clients who have fixed incomes coming to food banks, but what's new is that we are now seeing individuals who are working full-time having to make use of food banks. In fact, that number has risen to about 1/3 of food bank clients having full-time employment. That number doubled over the past year. So if you have a job, that doesn't guarantee that you are not going to need a food bank. And we've started to look at what are the correlations between food bank usage and various economic indicators. And so we looked at employment, and we've looked at market rents. And the direct correlation between food bank usage and inflation is the only real correlation that we have seen that can account for this unprecedented growth. Make no mistake that food inflation at 11.6% and CPI north of 6% is having a marked, direct, deep impact on food insecurity in Canada. As important as it is to examine what is producing the rapid increase in food prices, we also need to ask what led us to this situation. A situation where an extra $30 to $50 per person per month is causing individuals to have to rely on food charity. And so we need to start with how do we get here? Well, the rate of poverty in Canada has declined over the past number of years. To some 2 million Canadians remain in deep poverty. That means that their income falls below 75% of the official poverty line. So what does that mean on the ground? Well, in Toronto, that means if you are coming to a food bank, on average, you have $8.01 left over after paying per day, after paying for your rent and utilities. $8. And some 1 in 5 food bank users in Toronto have nothing. They have used all of their income on rent and on utilities and have to rely completely on charity, family, and friends to be able to make up the difference. So there is hope, and there's hope in these recommendations that I have before you. We're pleased to see the movement of Bill C-22 with the Canada Disability Benefit unanimously passed in the House and with the Senate right now, and that will have a dramatic effect for so many Canadians. And we're grateful for a number of income programs such as the Canada Child Tax Benefit, Old Age Security, Guaranteed Income Supplement, all of these being indexed to inflation, and those are positive. But we need to recognize that there's a significant gap that remains in our social safety net. The biggest gap is among working-age single individuals who represent close to half of food bank clients and represent half of those living in deep poverty in Canada. These individuals have very few income supports available to them beyond social assistance. And to be clear, social assistance, at least in Ontario, is about 1/3 the level of the poverty line in the province. We want to protect Canadians from the impacts of inflation, then we need to address financial precarity that is the reality of so many households. It's time to close the gap for single individual adults in our social safety net, just as we've done for children and for seniors. We recommend transforming the Canada Workers Benefit into a Canada Working Age Supplement that has a lower eligibility threshold and a higher maximum benefit level, and indexing it, and all future income supports to inflation. We recognize that with rampant inflation, the government will be cautious on spending and stimulating the economy, but we are proposing a measure to support those in deepest poverty. The Daily Bread Food Bank and food banks across the country are already at a breaking point. We are bracing for another rise in food bank visits. In fact, this past April, Statistics Canada indicated that 1 in 5 Canadians said that they are going to have to rely on community, on food charities, on family, and on friends to be able to get by. And charities can't meet this need. We need all levels of government to come together to act to ensure that Canadians can afford to put food on their table. We said we were going to build back better.
We're going to have
this is my last sentence, if that's okay.
Thank you.
3 sentences?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm in the business of begging. I'm a charity, so thank you for indulging me on that. Finally, I want to leave you with a quote from Brian Stevenson, the civil rights lawyer, who said that the opposite of poverty is not wealth, but justice. And you, as duty bearers, you in positions of power, have the opportunity to spread justice through making sure that every single Canadian has their right to food being realized. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hetherington. We're now going to turn to Ms. Nicol for up to 5 minutes, please.
Well, thank you, Chair and committee members, for the opportunity to appear before you and discuss the critical issue of food security and the impact rising food costs are having on Canadians. And first, I'd like to say I agree 100% with everything Mr. Hetherington just said. As you may remember from my last appearance before this committee, Second Harvest is Canada's largest food rescue organization, and we are a global thought leader on perishable food redistribution. We strive to grow an efficient food recovery network to fuel people and reduce the environmental impact of avoidable food waste. That mission is all the more important during difficult and uncertain economic periods. As we all know, we are in the middle of one of those periods. The food sector is facing unprecedented adversity, rising costs, the reasons we're here today, labor shortages, climate change have been a considerable burden for producers and businesses across the supply chain, and solving these challenges has proved to be very complicated. Even though food companies are innovating, investing in new technologies, and trying to find efficiencies, addressing these issues will not be easy or happen quickly. In the meantime, the Canadian public is bearing the brunt of the challenging economic landscape. As inflationary pressures lead to higher grocery prices, the use of food charities in Canada has increased significantly, and support for Canadians is expected to continue rising in 2023 by an additional 60%, based on a recent poll done by Second Harvest. These organizations, of which there are 61,000 of them, are triaging an affordability crisis affecting households nationwide. Every day, Canadians are forced to choose between healthy, nutritious food and other essentials, like housing, heating and water, and transportation. And food is a discretionary cost. So not only is it the price of food making it prohibitive to purchase enough groceries, it's forcing Canadians to buy the least nutritional and overly processed foods because that's what they can afford, if they can afford it at all. As everyone here knows, poor nutrition is linked to many negative health outcomes, including heart disease, stroke, some cancers, type 2 diabetes, not to mention food insecurity's impact on mental health and cognitive behavior. In children, poor nutrition results in lower educational outcomes and problems with physical, emotional, and psychological development that will live with them throughout their lives. Rising food costs are not only pushing more Canadians into food insecurity in the short term, the impact of being unable to access healthy foods will last far longer than the inflationary pressure we face today. And while long-term solutions are sorely needed, in the meantime, we must act now to ensure Canadians have access to the nutrients they need to live a healthy life. I cannot stress enough the desperation that is being felt by Canadians across this country as people are simply trying to survive, and they don't have the means to make ends meet. And as Neil said, for many of them, for the first time ever, these are people with full-time jobs. So this committee faces a very difficult question. How can our government fix this? So in addition to the recommendations I made in October to bring back the Emergency Food Security Fund and the Surplus Food Rescue Program, I recommend that this committee investigate the impact that eliminating best before dates would have on Canadians. Best before dates are wildly misunderstood. They are not expiry dates. They refer to a product's peak freshness. So while Canadians struggle to put food on the table, they are also convinced that best before dates are about safety and will throw away perfectly good food to protect themselves and their families. Eliminating best before dates would prevent safe, consumable food from being thrown out, saving Canadians money on their grocery bills. And while the issues of food affordability and growing food insecurity are complex and require long-term solutions to resolve, there is more that we can do right now to ensure that millions of vulnerable Canadians are not going hungry. Currently, for every one grocery store, there are 4 nonprofits feeding Canadians, filling legislative gaps. I ask all committee members for their efforts and support to address this crisis head on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nicol. I'm told that we have Chief Louie online. I believe that to be the case. Chief, if you're there and you could turn your camera on, we can turn the mic over to you. There's the Chief. If you can hear me, Chief Louie, the floor is yours. You have up to 5 minutes. We might have to do a slight microphone test, or maybe that's already been done, Madam Clerk, but I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and we'll start from there. Oh, you're just on mute, sir. Just down in the bottom left corner of your screen, there might be a mute button that you can click and unmute. Okay.
I think I found it. Okay. Does everyone hear me? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you in the room. We're going to do our best for our translators, and if there's issues, Mr. Louie, I'll intervene. But why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. White Huts, Skokwast. My name is Byron Lewis. I'm the chief of the Okanagan Indian Band It's an honor here to be here today to share the perspectives of the Assembly of First Nations, or the AFN, concerning food price inflation and its devastating impacts on First Nations.
Mr. Louie, I apologize. We're being told that your microphone for your headset is not selected. Now, there is a technical team trying to call. I'm happy to try to walk you through this as well. Basically, down near the mute button, Mr. Louie, you can click and then make sure that your proper headset is selected. We have strict rules to make sure we're protecting our interpreters, as you can appreciate.
Okay, is it VXT? Can everyone hear me?
We're just going to suspend for a minute, if we could, Madam Clerk, and we'll try to get this cleared up technically. And if not, we might move with some of the questions to make sure. Mr. Chief Louie, if you could just keep your phone handy, the technicians are going to try to call, but we're going to just suspend for just a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, witnesses, for being here today. That's some staggering numbers that we heard in the opening remarks here, and I think if Canadians are watching today, they'd be as surprised as I was to hear the increase in food bank visits in a month. 270,000, I believe, Mr. Hetherington, is what you said in Toronto alone per month. This month, as in February 2023, is that correct? In March so far, and we're only at March, what is it, the 20th today?
At the end of March, we will have 270,000 visits.
Okay. So, Mr. Hetherington, we've heard reports in the past that Canadians are in such dire straits that they're looking not only for food, but we've heard that Canadians have actually gone to food banks seeking medical assistance and dying. And I know that this isn't a cost of food problem, and it's brought on by overall concerns with inflation and cost of living in Canada. But my question for you is, as food banks, do you have the resources? Are your staff trained to handle these types of situations? Because they are frontline staff, and I'm just wondering how they would provide assistance or reassurance to those folks who are in such desperate measures that they're asking these questions at a food bank.
What I can tell you is that there is a heightened sense of concern right now in food banks, at least within the Daily Bread network. People are under stress, and as you can imagine, they are wondering whether or not they can get their next meal or a meal for a child, and so they are in a difficult, precarious position. I don't have any anecdotal or data to support the claim that there are individuals looking at MAID in terms of the situation that they're in. But I can tell you that stress and de-escalation is required in each of our food banks. And so to your question, which I appreciate around resourcing, the answer is we do have information and referrals. We stick in our lane, which is making sure that people get access to the food that they need and resources so that they don't need to come to a food bank. And so we have built up that program and will continue to build up that program and refer individuals to programs that are suitable for them.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, have the demographics changed with the users who come to the food bank with the cost of living and inflationary crisis that we're facing? Because I have talked to some folks at the food bank before who told me that it used to be a lot of seniors that they would see at the food banks, and now they're seeing students and new Canadians coming to the food banks. Can you just briefly comment on that?
Absolutely. There are some startling or surprising demographics of individuals who have to make use of food banks. So in Toronto, some 52% of food bank users have a post-secondary education. We don't normally think that that is the case. I mentioned earlier that 1 in 3 have access to full-time employment. Again, if you played by the rules, you got an education, you got a job, that does not mean that you no longer need a food bank. We are seeing an influx, and certainly in speaking with my colleague Megan Nichols at the Mississauga Food Bank, she will tell you, and we experience at the Daily Bread Food Bank, the number of individuals that are new Canadians coming to food banks. That is a significant challenge for us right now.
Thank you. And just one last quick question. Are you registered federally to lobby?
Are we yes, we are.
Thank you very much. Ms. Nicol, you mentioned in some of your comments that the increasing cost for food is a huge problem. So I'm just wondering if we see the cost of gas go up another 14 cents as part of a carbon tax. And you mentioned in previous testimony to this committee that the supply chain and cost of transportation is the largest challenge to providing food rescue and redistribution supports. So is the increasing cost of the carbon tax a concern for Second Harvest's ability to afford to do business? And should there be reasonable exemptions made to the carbon tax to ease the burden on food producers and perhaps even food charities?
Such a great question, but I got to be honest, Second Harvest is an environmental organization, so we're about food waste and trying to make sure that it doesn't go into landfill. So I think there are a lot of levers that we could maybe pull. That I don't want to say that's one of them, to be honest. because we are looking at it from an environmental lens as well as a food insecurity lens.
Okay. As a charity, I know you have many avenues for funding, but access to sufficient capital is always a concern. And we know Second Harvest has received government support, but I'm just wondering how much you're currently receiving and how much is needed to grow to make a difference.
Oh, so the government funding was the COVID funding, so we're not receiving any of it anymore. That funding has stopped. And honestly, we could use another $30 million, and even then it wouldn't be enough to meet the need.
The figure has come up that only 4% of businesses who are able are donating their surplus food. So I'm just wondering why so few and what could be done to see that number increase. And second, are any of the large grocery chains partnered with with you for food rescue? We have about 30 seconds left to answer that.
So the grocery chains, absolutely. They use the Food Rescue app. All of them are on it. Or if they're not partnered with us, I think Metro's partnered with Food Banks Canada. But Loblaws and Sobeys and Empire, they're all partnered with probably both of us, to be honest. And sorry, your other question was?
What could be done to see that number increase for businesses?
Honestly, I'm going to go back to, I think if we mandate measurement for businesses to measure their food loss and waste, that will drive them to that innovation of we have to give some away because there has to be a target that they hit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rood. Thank you, Ms. Nicol. I'm told that Chief Louie now, I believe, is going to be okay. So, Mr. Louie, I would invite you to make your 5-minute remarks, and then colleagues will adjust and try to get through as many questions in this first panel as possible. Chief Louie, over to you. You're just you're on mute, my friend. There you go.
How's that? All right. Thank you.
Great.
My name is Byron Lewis. I'm the Chief of the Okanagan Indian Band, and it's an honor to be here today to share the perspectives of the Assembly of First Nations concerning food price inflation and its devastating impacts on First Nations. Given the short time for opening remarks, I'll focus my remarks on 3 areas: the historic context of First Nations food security and insecurity in Canada, impacts on food price inflation on First Nations, and recommendations. And the history of First Nations, we have historically experienced systemic discrimination and colonialism, which has contributed to food insecurity and loss of culture and infringement of our rights. And if you look at the recent Yali decision that came out of northeastern BC, is specific to cumulative effects on 97% of their traditional territories. So you can imagine what the impacts that is on such things as what is defined as our country foods. As First Nations, we have a unique and sacred reciprocal relationship with Mother Earth and all living things. As such, environmental stewardship is central to our cultures, traditions, health, food sovereignty. However, environmental degradation and settler colonial policies continue to damage our environment and erode our food sovereignty. First Nations of Canada experience extremely high rates of food insecurity, with many First Nations households finding it difficult to put enough food on our table. And recent studies found that First Nations experience disproportionately high rates of food insecurity, about 3 to 5 times higher than the Canadian population overall. Families with children are even more affected. Over the last century, First Nations have experienced a profound nutritional transition from traditional food to an increased reliance on market food systems and resulting heightened food insecurity. Throughout the pandemic, First Nations have been returning to traditional modes of hunting, fishing, and trapping, only to compete with more licensed hunters and even before, and fewer populations of fish and wildlife. As we witness in our lifetime the disappearance, excuse me, of salmon in the Yukon, the unimaginable poverty that's taking over, which impacts a full scope of the ecosystem. First Nations see this as a crisis of food security, and wild country foods that were once plentiful no longer exist, and store-bought foods that First Nations cannot afford takes its place. And in British Columbia here, if you look at some of the statistics on Chinook salmon, about 13 of the 14 Chinook stocks are in peril and requiring some type of listing, and that is a major part of our diets in the West, on the West Coast. And you look at impacts of food price inflation on First Nations food security and sovereignty. The cost of food in Canada rose by 10.4% in January as of 2023, the highest since about 1980. you take in consideration any northern community, you're talking about the ability, if you're able to haul goods and services over an ice bridge, it's about $60 a pound. But if you have to fly it in, it's $6 a pound. So you can imagine what that does to effects on anyone's buying power. When you're looking at, according to the Consumer Price Index from Statistics Canada, grocery prices are up 9%. However, First Nations communities face even higher food prices, up 2.5 higher than the national average, putting food beyond the reach of many First families. And my own experience of being up in Old Crow, its highest community in the Yukon, a small piece of coho salmon about this big and about a thick that looked like about a single serving. And that was $26 for that piece. Now, if you have a family of 5, do the math, that's well over $100 just for that one family to put that on the table for food. And if you're on a fixed income, think of what that causes and the actual price hauling it in. And when you look at food prices, inflation poses unique and significant impacts on First Nations who are already facing challenges related to food insecurity and accessible to healthy food. You look on the average wage of First Nations family is at $22,000 per year, which is, I think it's on the poverty line, which is defined as poverty line in Canada. In the past, we were able to live or subside, on this because we had access to our traditional foods. That does not exist anymore. As First Nations, traditional foods remain essential to our food systems. Food prices, inflation makes it more expensive for First Nations to practice hunting and fishing, creating additional barriers
Thank you.
To traditional foods.
Thank you, Chief Lewis. I know the time is relatively short, but now we want to get to other parliamentarians to be able to ask questions of our witnesses, including yourself. So from one Lewis to the next, Mr. Tim Lewis, over to you now for up to 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I appreciate all the witnesses being here. I'm remote. I'm in Kitchener-Conestoga right now, which is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Neutral people. So while I have a chance to talk to you, Chief Lewis, I appreciate you. Hopefully, I can expand on what you were saying, talking about the price of healthy foods, how it's in First Nations communities is actually much higher than the rest of Canada. You talked about food transportation costs, climate change compounding the issues the further north you get. And then higher rates of poverty and unemployment, making it even harder to eat healthy food. And you talked about the costs. The challenges would lead to more food insecurity and then diet-related health issues. But we are hearing some stories of innovative ways, like we're trying to figure out a way to how can we help locally, as opposed to bringing food in. So there are some success stories of innovative ways to grow vegetables year-round, even at temperatures below freezing. Do you have any instances of Indigenous communities partnering with organizations or companies to develop things like hydroponic container gardens or greenhouses or vertical farming? Oops, sorry, you're on mute.
That's being done in certain communities across Canada, but it's not, it's in certain locations, but it's not the norm. When you're talking about such things as greenhouses, technologies, and others, there's certain requirements that are in there that would be affected by that. If you're dependent on diesel generation, then there's certain limitations on that, or the technology itself. But with that being said, there's a lot of communities that are actually instituting what's now community gardens. And, even myself growing up as a young man, as a young kid, I was, our country foods actually supported us quite extensively, but so did gardens. And it's slowly starting to return to that. But if you look at that, it's probably about 30 years since those were the norm. And now it's slowly trying to go back in there. And it's going to take a while. But keep in mind that we have global warming that's going to probably exist from anywhere from 50 to 100 years.
Okay, I thank you for your time. I'll see if I can get in some questions to the other witnesses, and maybe Mr. Hetherington from the Daily Food Bank. I appreciate all the work you're doing. Oops, sorry, I got an echo. Not for your advocacy, amplifying the voices of people who are experiencing food insecurity. And in our riding in Kitchener-Conestoga, I know firsthand the work that you've done with the food bank of Waterloo Region. I know that the supports are bigger than just one organization. In every community, there are programs, agency partners in cities and in the smaller towns that provide food and connection to other vital supports. Can you speak to the cooperation between the food banks themselves, the interplay you have, and also between food banks and local community programs, and what we can do to strengthen that cooperation?
Very much for the question. Through Food Banks Canada, we have a wonderful network across the country that allows us to be able to share information, share resources, and collectively advocate on behalf of and alongside and with individuals who are experiencing food insecurity. So that's the basic framework that we're in. But to your question, in terms of how can we improve that, how can we magnify those voices, that is something that we're consistently challenged with. We know the solutions to food insecurity. I think everybody at this committee knows the solutions to food insecurity, and we can share the statistics. We can show the recommendations, and most importantly, we can provide you with the impact of individual social policy levers that you have the choice to be able to implement, so that we can get to a place where this country has no food insecurity.
And to follow up, Mr. Hetherington, how can we, from a communication standpoint, how can we reduce the stigma of people using food banks, especially in smaller communities? What can we do from a communication standpoint?
I think we have to recognize there's just, in the numbers are sort of stating that almost 1 in 25 are like on the. 1 in 5 Canadians are experiencing food insecurity. People are not far away from food insecurity, and so it's your neighbor. It's the person sitting beside you on the bus that is food insecure. So what we do operationally is make sure that we have low barrier systems in place. So that means that when you walk through a food bank, that we greet you, and we make sure that it is a shopping model, that you can select the food that is appropriate for your family, for your culture, for your dietary restrictions. And so those are some of the low barrier ways that we can make sure that people feel comfortable coming in to do what more and more Canadians regrettably are doing.
Thank you. With the final minute I have, Ms. Nicol from the Second Harvest, I only have time for one question, but we felt the impact of your community, or in all our communities, I should say. Can you tell us about the economic benefits, but also the social impact and the environmental benefits of the work you're doing?
Of the rescued food? Well, we know that
Correct,
when we keep it out of landfill, we know that it creates methane gas because there's no oxygen in landfill, and most of our food ends up in landfill. So we know that when we keep it out, we're not emitting that methane gas. Economically, what we do is it's free. It's all free. There's so much food in Canada. We don't have to purchase it. We get it for free. And so what that allows those charities and nonprofits, of which there are 61,000, they can use their money for what they need. Wraparound services, if they need a mental health worker, if they need a social worker, if they need sports, if they need whatever they need, they don't have to spend their money on food. So that's the economic driver. And the social driver is, it's because it's wraparound services. We support food banks, but we're an opt-in organization. We support any charity or nonprofit that is supplying food to people in need. And so there is no stigma. It depends on what you're going to, right? So it's schools, or it's community centers, or churches, or mosques. The goal is to give them something else that isn't just food. And so that's a social network for them. And it's amazing what happens when people get together socially for a number of reasons. They typically get this wonderful thing called confidence and some life skills. And
Thank you,
sorry,
Ms.
Cody,
Nicol.
I will shut my mouth right now.
No. Look, we gave an extra 45 seconds. I always try to be fair at this committee, but I do need to make sure we keep somewhat on time. Monsieur Parent, allez-y, s'il vous plaît, 6 minutes.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much to all of our witnesses for being here today, both in person and online. Ms. Nicol, you were on a roll. I'll let you go on a little bit just to wrap up your idea.
I think it was wrapped up. It was just that there are social benefits. So.
Alors,
Perfect. You spoke about concrete propositions for the government. You talked about a specific food program. If you had the possibility to formulate specific recommendations to this committee that can transmit them to the government? If you had 2 or 3 recommendations, what would they be?
The first one would be bringing back the surplus food rescue program. There's more than enough food in this country to feed everybody. And it also supports producers, it supports individuals and families, and it supports the social network and the economy. So that's number one. Number two, I think we do need to bring back the emergency food security funding while we work on longer term systemic policies. But there has to be something in between, right? Like we're triaging, all these charities are triaging. And I bring up best before dates because, you know, a lot of this food is going to waste for no reason at all. And it's because everybody thinks it's about safety, and it's not. And manufacturers put them on, and they put them on every single article of food that is not required. So those would be my 3 recommendations.
OK. Et comment modifier ça?
How would you modify that with an education policy, with a deadline? How can we change this while still protecting the health of the population?
Oh, best before date? So actually we have a couple countries that are doing this already. In the UK, they're actually eliminating best before dates on a number of products. In Australia, they've changed best before to use by date. So I think we actually just need to investigate what other countries are doing and doing well. Like we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And of course, CFIA has to be involved to make sure that we're not ever making any food unsafe. But when you see a best before date on water or coffee or can that is good for 2 years, people think that that's garbage and they're throwing it away and they could be eating it. Diane.
Monsieur,
Mr. Hetherington, 1 out of 5 people is living through food insecurity, and yet we know the solutions. If you have 1 or 2 recommendations for the government, what would they be?
The first would be to have a serious conversation about a guaranteed income in this country. We flirted with that with CERB, and we saw the opportunities with what that could do for many in lifting them out of poverty. And I would think that it's time now for a conversation, a study to happen to understand the benefits to so many. The second is your support when it comes to Bill C-22. I can't tell you how delighted I was that it was unanimously approved by the House. And now it's the opportunity through those regulations to say, how can we assist individuals who are on disability and provide them with a top-up to the provincial assistance that they receive, which is dismal.
merci beaucoup. Vous deux, réaction rapide, là.
Just briefly, a question for both of you. With old age pensions being increased after 75 years old and not as of 65 years old, do you think that that could be part of the solution to increase the food security of people in that age group?
I'm not an expert in that, to be fair. I do know that there were tremendous benefits when the guaranteed income for seniors came into play. And so anytime that we have the opportunity to increase the income or decrease their expenses through decent, affordable housing with seniors, then I know that that's a good thing. But I'm sorry, I'm not an expert on that.
I'm with Neil.
Merci
Increase
beaucoup.
anybody's funding, the better.
Chef Louis.
Chief Lewis, first, thank you for being among us. When you talk about the recommendations, I have visited a community in the north of the Yukon. Years ago, the price of food was unreasonably higher than what we had here in the south of the country. I'd like you to also talk about what recommendations you would make. You have the opportunity to provide clear recommendations to the government so that we can include them in the report. What would be your main recommendations if you had to pick 1 or 2?
Mr. Lewis, you're on mute.
Okay, I would say that Canada should support the development of First Nations-led initiatives to address food insecurity, including strategies to build First Nations resiliency against the impacts of food price inflation. This should include enhanced infrastructure investments to strengthen First Nations economic development and improve access to healthy food. And what we are saying in essence is to look at how can we actually build sustainable communities, what's actually available. And I think there's in other parts of the world, they use multi-impact area developments. And what that is with the USDA and other ones like the the Aga Khan Foundation in Pakistan. And we all know that First Nations are, when we measure impacts, we're considered fourth world in terms of development. But in those instances, what they use is looking at not just one single support, but a multiple of supports coming in from different federal agencies, different other ones, to address the problems of generating a sustainable community.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur. Merci beaucoup, Chef Louis.
Thank you, Chef Lewis, and thank you, Mr. Perron. Now we have Mr. McGregor for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all of our witnesses for joining our committee today and helping us study this very important topic. Mr. Hetherington, I'd like to start with you. The figures that you've presented to our committee, I think we are all somewhat familiar with, but to hear you repeat them in such a concise and ordered way, I think is a very damning indictment of the state of our country and for what too many Canadians are going through on a day-to-day basis. I was especially struck by the figures you relayed to us that showed the increase in the number of Canadians who have full-time employment and are relying on food banks to make it through month by month. And if there is a more damning indictment of the state of our economy, I don't know what it is. The fact that someone is working full-time and trying their best to make as much income as they can, but they're still reliant on a food bank. And when you compare that with some of the profits that are being felt in some segments, that's quite a damning indictment. But what I wanted to turn to is, like you mentioned several times during your opening statement, the concept of a right to food. We know in Canada, of course, we have our rights enshrined in the Charter. One of my colleagues is attempting to bring legislation through the House on establishing or enshrining a right to a healthy environment. When you talk about a right to food, I mean, you've given some of the examples policy-wise and through income supports, how we could help support people. But do you ever see this right to food being enshrined in legislation, or has that ever been something that you've discussed? I'm just wondering if you could expand on that topic a little bit more.
Thank you for the question, and absolutely, I do. We've already signed up for that. Canada has signed Article 25 of the United Nations to declare that we subscribe to a right to food. We believe that everybody should have the means to be able to feed themselves with culturally appropriate foods that meets the requirements of that individual. So we already have subscribed to it. So the question is, how do we live up to the commitment that we've already put our name to? To your earlier point in terms of where the economy is and food bank usage, I want to make it very clear to this committee that things are upside down. It does not make sense that unemployment is as low as it is and food bank usage is as high as it is. This is the very first time in the 40 years that food banks have been in Canada that we have seen unemployment so low and food bank usage at the rates that we're seeing right now. So you didn't ask me the question, but I'm going to answer it. What keeps me up at night? And the answer is that when if things go south when it comes to unemployment rates in Canada, what we at the Daily Bread will face, it will be monumental and an extraordinary challenge. We're already at a breaking point.
Thank you for that, and I do appreciate the addition you provided to this committee. Ms. Nicol, I'd like to turn to you and to Second Harvest Canada. Welcome back to our committee. We've always valued your testimony before this body. You know, in your opening statement, you were talking about how families, you know, when they're at supermarkets because of the high price of foods, they are increasingly turning to cheaper items, to more heavily processed foods that are not as high in nutritional value as say the foods around the outside edges of the supermarket, where your fresh fruits and vegetables are, where your dairy products, where your meat is, and instead going to processed foods. I think it's really important for you to add a little bit more than what your opening statement allowed for, and just like what the long-term consequences are for that lower nutritional uptake by families and what it does to the developing child's brain, for instance. And because I think we need to understand this as a committee, that there are going to be longer-term impacts from this to our healthcare system, not only personally and socially, but also economically, and then the number of healthcare dollars we may have to spend as a result of not tackling this initially.
Thank you so much, because you're right. It's prevention. This should be prevention. Feeding people is prevention. We're going to all pay for it in the end. And so the research is very clear. The health outcomes of children are very negative. So we know they have lower educational outcomes in math and English, in all of the subjects. They can't concentrate. I mean, I think it's really simple. Think about when you're hungry. You become hangry. You can't focus. And that's what's happening to families. They can't focus because they don't have the nutrition in their brains to focus. And you actually need that to make good decisions as well. So there's this domino effect when all you're accessing is terrible food. And when all you have is $8, to Neil's point, you can't buy broccoli, you can't buy carrots, you can't buy milk, because these are risks. You're not sure if your kids are going to eat them. You're not going to buy it. You're going to buy what you know your kids will eat, and all of your kids will eat. And it's a risk. So who has to think about buying milk as a risk in your own budget at home? Nobody here. But for many people, it is. They cannot purchase healthy food because their kids won't eat it, and they only have $8. And we know the health outcomes. We're seeing it already. We see type 2 diabetes has increased. We see heart disease has increased. Strokes are increasing. Cancer is increasing. A lot of this is food related. Get the right diet into families, and our health dollars will be less.
Thank you, Ms. Nicol. Thank you, Mr. McGregor. Now, colleagues, we've run a little bit long, but I do want to get to second rounds of questioning. I'm going to tighten it, so we'll go 3 minutes for the Conservatives and Liberals, and I would ask respectfully about a reasonable question from the Bloc and the NDP, or two quick questions, and we'll wrap up. So a minute and a half, 2 minutes for the minority part, or the third and fourth parties. Mr. Epp, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the witnesses, and thank you for your good work. I'm fortunate enough to live on the 42nd parallel with a lot of greenhouses, so I've got access to fresh fruits and vegetables virtually year-round, summer root crops, etc. So I'm going to start with Mr. Lewis. Members in our community have actually partnered with the First Nations, with the Prince Albert Grand Council, have actually experimented with and shipped fresh fruits and vegetables to the gratitude of that band. Can you speak to the access in general that First Nations communities have? The fresh fruits and vegetables tend not to be as nutrient dense, as dense a product, and you're talking about $6 freight. Can you talk about the impact of that, of nutritious food to First Nations?
Well, I think a majority, when you start looking at the fixed income of First Nations that a lot of the people experience, and how that erodes buying power based upon, 9% increase in inflation and food costs. You're looking at even First Nations that are down in the lower, in 250 kilometers from Canada-U.S. border. Our ability to access traditional foods are, impacted anywhere from 70 to 90% of our traditional foods. And when you're looking at the ability say, if you live in the north and you're used to consuming 6 to 9 caribou per year at 300 pounds per caribou, that's anywhere from 1,800 to 2,700 pounds. What happens if you can't access that? Where do you get that
Thank you,
from?
Chief. I apologize to cut you off. My time is so very, very short. A statement you made, Mr. Hetherington, struck me. Poverty rates have declined, and yet we heard from your testimony the amount of food bank usage is up through the roof. Typical disposable income for food in Canada has been 9%. It's up 14%. And you talk about the statistics of housing and whatever else that takes out of particular lower incomes levels. Previous testimony to this committee has said basically the food insecurity issue is part of the much larger, and you've alluded to that in your testimony, cost of living issues. It's an income issue. Can you expand on that jarring dichotomy of poverty rates and food insecurity?
So to be clear, the poverty rates that I cited were pre-pandemic numbers as they start to decline. So the new numbers are going to be grim. So that's the first thing. In terms of squaring the two, earlier what I said in response to the previous question, I am quite concerned about the future. I am quite concerned about the state of the economy and unemployment being as low as it is right now, and food bank usage being as high as it is.
Thank you.
Mr. Epp, yeah, thank you for giving that 10 seconds back. Ms. Valdez, over to you for up to 3 minutes.
Thank you to the witnesses for joining us in this committee. Mrs. Nicol, welcome back. So since the largest portion of food waste is biodegradable, what are some of the ways in which we can effectively reduce or reuse this waste?
Well, first I would like to argue for prevention, to be honest. We should prevent it from happening at all. But I really do love that there's a lot of upcycling that's going on and economic drivers for upcycling, which is really great. But I think we have to, again, I'm going to go back to mandate measurement. If we mandate measurement with businesses, then they will find innovative ways to manage their food waste.
Thank you. Mr. Hetherington, earlier you were referring to the Canada Disability Act. Can you elaborate on how this will help those who rely on the Daily Bread Food Bank, whether that's financial or otherwise, in terms of benefits?
Well, if you are on disability in the province of Ontario, you're receiving $1,229 per month. The poverty line is $2,100. Every single month, every single person who's on disability is legislated to be in poverty. That's fundamentally wrong. There is a $900 delta, and my hope is that the federal government takes a leadership position and says through the act and the regulations that will follow that we can make a fundamental difference.
Thank you. Last question is for Chief Byron Lewis. You mentioned in your opening that you're less able to feed yourselves on reserve. Can you comment on the supply chain options and what that looks like for First Nations?
You're on mute, Mr. Lewis.
The comment that I made about access to foods is loss of our traditional diet and how that actually subsidized, the low incomes of our people. And what was mentioned earlier on, 2,100 as being the poverty. I think it's around 2,200 for First Nations. When you take away that ability to actually access traditional foods, you take away the ability to actually provide nutritious proteins. So that is a very serious problem.
Thank you. I think that's
Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Yeah, we're very close to time. Maintenant, Monsieur Perron, 80.
Mr. Perron, for 90 seconds up to 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Chef Lewis, I'll allow you to elaborate on the access to resources for traditional nutrition. How is that developing? What solutions do you see for that? And if you can tell us more about drinking water. We were talking about food, but we also know that there is an issue with access to water in many of your communities. Can you expand on that?
I think when we're talking about food insecurities, I think one of the things that must be understood that there's a fundamental difference between nutrition amongst First Nations people or Indigenous people. Western society is basically a protein-driven diet where it's based upon flour, Middle East, Fertile Crescent. But for First Nations, we're protein. You know, everything that we have comes from protein, and you take away that ability to access that, that directly affects us. In our community, we're 22,000 or 2,200 people, yet we have 600 people that are suffering from diabetes, one form or other. What's that driven by? It's carbohydrates. So when we're talking about food security, there must be a recognition that somebody once, I forgot who it was mentioned earlier, that a recognized right to food. Well, we have that. It's constitutional. It's Section 35. That is a right, but it's not being recognized or implemented by any level of government. It doesn't matter if they're provincial or federal. That needs to be changed because we need to turn this around. If we're going to turn around food insecurity, we need access to our traditional foods.
Malheureusement, c'est très rapidement.
Very briefly.
Monsieur.
Very briefly, Mr. Lewis, with regards to the access to water, can you tell us more? How are you reacting to that? What can we do quickly?
Okay, for us, it's litigation. It's the only way that we are actually able to get any results was taking the federal government to court over safe drinking water and making it a human right. And, you know, it's the only ability that we have. And it's the only thing that actually created any type of level of change.
Merci beaucoup, Chef Lewis.
Thank you, Chief Lewis and Mr. Perron. Mr. McGregor, 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chief Lewis. I'd like to continue with you. You know, I was on the Public Safety Committee a couple of weeks ago, and we heard from a witness representing the Nunavut Association of Municipalities, and he was also talking about how hunting was used to really shield a lot of families from the high prices of food and that connection to the land. And you know, they were talking about the danger that certain elements of the Bill C-21 pose to their hunting rifles, which they depend on. I'm proud to represent a riding out here on Vancouver Island that sits on the traditional territories of many Coast Salish First Nations, also part of the Nuchalneth as well with the Pachidat and Dididat. And I guess my final question to you in the time I have left is, you know, we have a diet here which is very much based on what the ocean provides. And if you could just talk about the access to processing capacity and you know, what can the federal government be doing more to ensure that First Nations have access to those traditional foods to help them process it, to maybe tackle the problem that many communities are experiencing with these high food prices?
The problem doesn't exist with the actual processing. It actually exists with a lack of resources that are natural resources are out there. And one of the things we need is government to start recognizing what's called natural capital. And I'll quickly go through this. If you look at the Stalo, let's say a really rough estimate, they consume about 1,000 pounds of aquatics per year traditionally. But it doesn't sound like much until you times it by 10,000 Stalos. Suddenly you're talking about 10 million pounds of fish. Now you times that by retail value. If you can't get it in the river, you got to go to Costco or other ones, and that's $12 a pound, $12.50 a pound. Suddenly you're talking about the value of 10 million pounds of fish being close to $120 million. Now you times that by all the First Nations going up to Fraser. Suddenly you have about $1 billion worth of resources, and it's not being measured. It's not being looked at as that value. And this is natural capital. You know, all these proteins that are actually in there that we can't buy with our fixed incomes, but we could get it naturally. That is natural capital. That needs to be recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. McGregor, and to Chief Lewis and colleagues. That unfortunately brings us to the end of the first panel. Great discussion to get us started. On behalf of all of you, I'd like to thank from the Okanagan Indian Band, Chief Byron Lewis, from the Daily Bread Food Bank here in the room, Mr. Neil Hetherington, and from the Second Harvest Canada, Ms. Nicol, Lori Nicol. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and to help inform our study. Colleagues, please don't go far. We're going to adjourn just for 2 minutes to get us transitioned over, but we'll see you shortly. Our second panel, thank you for your patience in getting us transitioned and making sure that our technical team is all set for our translators. We have three individuals appearing today on the second panel. By video screen, we have Ian Lee, who is the Associate Professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University. Welcome, Mr. Lee. From the Agriculture Producers Association of Saskatchewan, also known as APAS, we have President Ian Boxall. Great to see you, Mr. Boxall. We had the chance to interact with you just a week or two ago with CFA meetings. Great to have you before our committee. And from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, we have Franco Terrazzano, who is a federal director, appearing here in person. I'm going to move forward with 5-minute opening remarks. I'm going to start with Mr. Lee. Up to 5 minutes, sir. The time and floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and committee members for inviting me on to discuss this important subject. First, my disclosures. One, I do not consult to any person or firm or association in the agri-food value chain system in Canada. Two, I don't have any investments in any firms anywhere in any industry. Thirdly, I don't belong to or donate any money to any political party anywhere. My fourth disclosure is somewhat different. Before returning to graduate school for my PhD, I was a commercial lender and banker for 9 years.
I'm just going to have to stop you, Mr. Lee. I have a member here flagging something. C'est un certain problème avec la traduction, Monsieur Parent. OK, juste un moment. Peut-être, Madame Graffier, c'est possible de trouver une solution. Mr. Lee, we're going to just keep your phone handy. We're going to try to, the interpreters are having a bit of a challenge with your headset. I know we've tried to get this through, but if you could just go on mute and just keep your phone handy, our technical team is going to try to reach out and we'll try to get you solved if you could. So I'll get you to go on mute. Mr. Boxall, we'll try you. Over to you for up to 5 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for this invitation today to talk about discuss farmers' views on food inflation. As you mentioned, my name is Ian Boxall, and I'm the president of the Agriculture Producers Association of Saskatchewan, which represents around 15,000 farm and ranch families, as well as I'm a farmer from the community of Tisdale in Northeast Saskatchewan. I want to focus my comments today on inflationary factors affecting our industry, and second, the importance of a grocery store code of conduct to promote certainty and transparency throughout the food supply chain. As committee members know, Saskatchewan farmers do not set the price of our products or the price for the inputs we buy to grow them. We are impacted by inflation on both ends, when we purchase our farm inputs and when we purchase food. And yet, the causes of inflation are many: geopolitical, weather-related events, the pandemic, and inefficiencies in our system. On food price inflation, farmers are very sensitive to the current environment affecting consumers. We are at the forefront of food production, and it is often easy to point the price of commodities we produce as a cause of what is happening at the grocery store. This is why APAS is undertaking work to highlight a farmer's share of the food dollar. We want to help educate the public and build a better understanding of what impacts farmers have on the price consumers see today. And I anticipate this to be negligible given the rapid rise in food prices. We plan to have this work completed in April. We also support the importance of a Canadian grocery code of conduct to improve efficiencies, collaboration, and transparency throughout the supply chain. The code will help ensure that processors, wholesalers, and large and small retailers play by the same rules, adhere to standards, and ensure fair transactions throughout the value chain. In 2021, Saskatchewan farmers experienced their most expensive crop ever for livestock and grain production, spending $11.5 billion on farm expenses, 11% higher than 2020, and 2022 wasn't any better. Saskatchewan farmers are concerned about the lack of price transparency and supply certainty for critical farm inputs such as fertilizer, fuel, seed, and chemical. Cost of production inflation creates added risk for producers. In 2021, Saskatchewan farmers spent $2.67 billion on fertilizer purchase alone, which made up 24% of cash operating expenses, exceeding the previous year's fertilizer purchases by 30%. Since 2019, glyphosate has increased 62%, fuel 52%. The price for urea has increased 112% since May of 2019, and anhydrous ammonia is up 113%. These inputs, critical for food production and security, these inputs are critical for food production and security at a time when the world needs Canadian agricultural products. We know that inflation and the cost of living are a major concern right now for everyone. At the same time, costs are especially volatile for essential farm inputs, which makes up a huge portion of farm costs. The lack of transparency on what's causing price spikes is very concerning and requires further investigation. I'd like to close out my remarks by making these observations for your consideration. First, food production and security should always be the utmost importance in policy development. No policy should limit, restrict, or reduce food production or decrease food security. Second, it is important to support and recognize innovation. Farmers have adopted or produced some of the most innovative technologies that have positively contributed to food production while increasing the biodiversity of the land and reducing our carbon footprint, and we will continue to do so. Thirdly, efficiency, accountability, and transparency of transportation systems to help build supply chain restrictions so that agriculture products reach destinations is critical to reducing inflationary costs. Fourth, a grocery store code of conduct can be a useful policy instrument to achieve better collaboration and effectiveness to help address food costs. We feel these measures will help supply chain friction and improve dynamics. Will help reduce supply chain frictions. And finally, Saskatchewan farmers are encouraged by the progress of Bill C-234 to exempt natural gas and propane for on-farm use. This bill will help reduce farmers' costs that we should not have to bear and we cannot pass along. And with that, I will stop there. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity, and I look forward to the discussion.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Boxall. We are going to turn to Mr. Terrazzano in the room, but Mr. Lee, I was just notified by the clerk, our technicians are trying to get a hold of you at the number that we have on file, and they're having some difficulties. So just check your phone, and we'll work on your technical side. Hopefully in 5 minutes we'll have you ready to go right after Mr. Terrazzano, who now has the floor for up to 5 minutes.
When you increase costs for farmers, Canadians pay more for groceries. When you increase costs for truckers, Canadians pay more for groceries. I'm Franco Terrazzano. I'm with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and I'm here on behalf of 235,000 Canadian taxpayers that want you to stop hiking the taxes that make it more expensive for farmers to make our food, for truckers to deliver our food, and for families to buy that food. There's an easy and quick way for the government to make food more affordable. Stop hiking taxes. But in less than 2 weeks, the government will raise the carbon tax for the fourth time since the beginning of the pandemic. The carbon tax will increase the price of gas by 14 cents per litre and the price of diesel by 17 cents per litre. Everything that gets delivered by truck will become more expensive, including your favorite kale salad. After the tax hike, federal carbon, fuel, and sales taxes will cost about 29 cents per litre of diesel. That means the big rig truck driver that delivers food to the store will pay about $260 in federal taxes every fuel up. Farmers say the carbon tax will cost them about $14,000 on average, and that was in 2019, according to the CFIB. And a higher carbon tax means it's more expensive for farmers to dry grain, and it means higher prices at the store. The carbon tax on propane and natural gas will cost farmers $1 billion through 2030. That's according to the Parliamentary Budget Officer. Let me read you a quote from Jeff Barlow, an Ontario corn, wheat, and soybean farmer. My competitors to the south of me in the United States do not pay that carbon tax, so now my cost goes up and I have no alternative. By penalizing me, there's nothing else that I can do but just be penalized. Less than a quarter of countries have a national carbon tax. That's according to the World Bank. Ottawa hiked taxes, while many of our peers and competitors cut taxes during the pandemic. 51 other national governments cut taxes. That includes more than half of G7 and G20 countries, and includes 2/3 of OECD countries. Australia, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Germany, South Korea, the United Kingdom, Italy, Israel, India, and Portugal are among those countries that cut fuel taxes. Ottawa, is getting ready to impose a second carbon tax through fuel regulations this summer. British Columbia currently has a second carbon tax. It costs about 16 cents per litre of gas and 19 cents per litre of diesel. There are no rebates with the second carbon tax. The more you tax, the less money Canadians have to afford higher groceries. And if you think that you can raise taxes, skim some off the top, and still make people better off through rebates, then I have some Ocean View property in Regina to sell you. The carbon tax will cost the average family between $402 and $847 this year, even after the rebates. That's according to the PBO. That could be a couple weeks of groceries for a family four, but it's being taxed away. Lower and middle income Canadians, households currently experiencing energy poverty, such as single mothers, and seniors living on fixed income will feel the most pain from the second carbon tax, and that's according to the government's own analysis. The higher carbon taxes are layered on top of higher payroll and higher alcohol taxes. 74% of Canadians say families pay too much tax, according to a recent Leger poll. Now, fortunately, you can provide relief for your constituents. You can help make life and groceries more affordable. At the very least, you must stop hiking taxes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Terrazzano. And I understand Mr. Lee is still on the phone technically. In the interest of time, colleagues, I apologize that Mr. Lee is not available. If we do get him back, we'll let him provide his remarks and be able to engage. But I don't want to preclude us from moving to questions. So I'm going to start with Mr. Barlow for up to 6 minutes.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm just hoping that maybe at the end, if there's a couple minutes, we could ask some other questions to Mr. Lee, if possible. Thanks to our witnesses, and I appreciate Mr. Terrazzano bringing up the last pirate of Saskatchewan, because there probably is Jolly Roger on Regina's mighty shores. But I'm going to start with Mr. Boxall. You mentioned about Saskatchewan having the most expensive harvest in history at $11.5 billion, 11% higher than previous years. And Mr. Terrazzano mentioned it, and we've got it on some information from Mr. Lee, that diesel fuel is up 76.5%. Input costs for farmers are up 65.1%. This is all from Stats Canada. And the carbon tax going up again on April 1st. What kind of impact is the carbon tax having on Canadian farmers and your ability to remain financially sustainable? Mr. Boxall.
Thank you for the question. Yep. Thank you for the question, Mr. Barlow. It's had a huge impact. It's a cost that comes right off our bottom line, and we've seen it go up every April 1st for the last number of years, and we have no control over passing that cost along or anything. And it's, yes, we can track it, and the numbers show that, we're somewhere between $14,000 and $25,000 for an average farm in Saskatchewan on carbon tax. But that's only on the stuff that we can track. We know for a fact that anything that's brought in by rail or by truck has a carbon tax. All of the manufacturing of equipment and all of that stuff has a carbon tax that is just built into the price. So yes, it is a huge expense. Can we track it exactly to what we are paying? No. But even what we can track has been a huge expense, huge hit to our bottom line, and it's affecting our production for sure and the livelihood of the farmers.
Mr. Barlow, I'm going to just stop you, and I'm stopping the clock. We do have Mr. Lee back. Mr. Lee, I'm going to ask you if you can try to put your microphone between your nose and your mouth. We are going to give you another shot. Mr. Barlow, I'm going to try to give him his 5 minutes, and then that way I'm not precluding you from getting questions. So, Mr. Lee, fingers crossed, over to you if you'd like to try again.
Okay, and thank you very much. I hope you can hear me now. Is that acceptable?
You're coming in. We'll go by my view of the translator. So fingers crossed. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I already provided my disclosures about not consulting and not being partisan or belonging to any political party. I'll jump right to this chase. I've taught the strategy course for the past 35 years at Carleton, where we analyze individual companies using the audited financial statements, looking at things like gross profit margin, net profit margin, ROIC, inventory turnover, and so forth. In that time, over 35 years, teaching it 5 times a year, I've estimated my students and I have looked at 3,000 to 4,000 corporations, 10 to 15 per course. So why I'm telling you about this is that we look at trend data, and we've also looked at Loblaws, Metro, and Sobeys. Moreover, inter-industry comparisons have been published from time to time in Canada and the U.S. that repeatedly demonstrate that grocery retailing is a notoriously low profit margin industry compared to most other industries. However, before turning to the issue at hand, I just want to address this overarching narrative that has emerged in recent times concerning corporate profitability, because some parliamentarians have criticized the profitability of certain select corporations. I would suggest, in my judgment, that this is a mistake on two levels. First, Canada and other OECD countries do not regulate wages or prices, and Parliament does not regulate profit margins. There's no act of Parliament that does that. That's the job of competition. Secondly, Harvard economist, the late economist Joseph Schumpeter, and Harvard strategy prof Michael Porter has taught us firms exist to create something of value. And this can only occur if firms generate sufficient resources to cover their costs. They have to be profitable. Indeed, I saw that as a former banker. From time to time, I had to put businesses into bankruptcy because they didn't make a profit. They couldn't cover their costs. All the employees were laid off. That's not a good thing. So where I'm going with this is, I understand your concern about profitability, and some argue that it's the rate or the degree of profitability. So to address this claim, we have to examine the actual evidence-based audited financial statements of companies that have been so accused. For fiscal year ending 2021, the net profit margin for Loblaws was 3.7. For Empire Sobeys, it was 2.7, and Metro 4.5. These margins, these net profit margins, may seem very high to people who are unfamiliar with evidence-based analysis. In fact, retail grocery store net profit margins are unbelievably low, absolutely and relative, compared to the double-digit profit margins in pharma, banking, beverages, automotive manufacturing, chemicals, computers, construction, electronics, entertainment, healthcare products, and I haven't touched all of them. So why the confusion? Because the critics are looking only at the end of the food chain and see the retail prices of the grocery retailers increasing, and then leap to the conclusion that the retailers caused the price increases. But they didn't. But how do we know? Well, then we turn to StatsCan empirical evidence. And I provided to you an infographic from StatsCan published only in December for wheat-based products only. But most of those inputs identified by StatsCan, in fact, are used throughout the food chain. Diesel, pesticides, trucking costs. Each shows stunning increases, 34% increase for pesticides, 28% for energy, 20% for trucking. But there's another way, and I'll just be wrapping up now. There's another way to test the allegation of what's being called greedflation by those who don't accept the StatsCan data. We can examine food inflation rates only, not general inflation, only food in other OECD countries. Because if the grocery retailers in Canada were raising their prices beyond the price increases in their input costs from farmers or wholesalers, it would show up in higher food inflation rates in Canada relative to other OECD countries. Fortunately, the OECD has just released very fresh comparative food inflation data from only 2 weeks ago, and it shows that food inflation in Canada is not above, but below the OECD average, below France, below Germany, below UK. So in conclusion, the evidence-based research from the audited financial statements of Canadian grocery retailers and the statistical data from Stats Canada and the statistical data from the OECD food price inflation data conclusively demonstrate that the claim of greedflation or excessive price increases by the grocery retailers is factually without any foundation at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Right on time. Let me just take one moment to recognize Mr. Epp, who is substituting in today. We have Mr. Longfield and Mr. Nakvi online. So welcome to this committee. Mr. Barlow, I know we cut into your time, but you have 4 minutes and 15 seconds remaining, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to carry on with my questions to Mr. Boxall, the Canada Food Price Index report came out at Christmas, and it said as the carbon tax continues to go up and is tripled, an average Canadian farm of 5,000 acres will pay about $150,000 in carbon tax alone. What kind of impact will that have on the sustainability of Canadian agriculture?
It'll have a huge impact. $150,000 on a 5,000 acre farm. That's unfathomable that we will get there on a carbon tax alone. it kind of makes my skin crawl to think that that's where we will be, and then to be turned around and not recognized for the work that is done, ensuring that we have proper grasslands and that we have proper farm management of our soil. Farmers are the biggest stewards of the land in this country, and we care more about the environment than we ever get credit for. And it really is, it's going to be detrimental to Saskatchewan farmers.
Thanks, Mr. Boxall. To Mr. Terrazzano, appreciate your comments as well. And just as maybe the same question to you, you were talking about the impact on trucking and farmers and those types of things. When that carbon tax has tripled, and $150,000 in carbon tax for an average 5,000 acre farm, I know you can't definitively say what the impact would be, but to your members, how are they going to manage those additional costs? And are they going to have to obviously pass that on to customers?
That's a great question. And, it's tough to say just how much pain that's really going to cost, right? But look, everyone knows that farmers aren't just pools of cash that can continue to pay higher taxes after higher taxes after higher taxes. So really only two things can happen. At least some of the costs make their way to the till and hurt families who are struggling to afford the jug of milk or the ground beef, or supply goes down. And what happens when we reduce Canadian supply? Prices, of course, go up. But even if we leave the farmers aside for a quick second, we're also seeing the increased costs of delivering those goods to the store. Carbon tax going up, second carbon tax coming in. So all of this is being layered on top of each other. It's hurting Canadian businesses, but it's also hurting Canadian families.
Has the CTF done anything in terms of, and maybe Ian can answer this question as well, on what the increase in the carbon tax and transportation, fertilizer, inputs, what the impact that is having on groceries specifically? Like if we see the carbon tax go to that $150,000 or is tripled, do we have an idea what the impact will be on grocery prices?
Well, I think the best analysis that has been done is by the government's own independent budget watchdog, the PBO. And it looks at all of the costs from the carbon tax compared to the rebates. And this year alone, the carbon tax will cost the average family between $402 to $847, even after the rebates. That's an annual cost, and it'll continue to go up and up and up through 2030.
Yeah, I have an interesting bill here from one of my, well, actually not my constituent, but somebody else in Alberta, and they're sending me their gas co-op bill. And their natural gas was about $2.39 per gigajoule, and the federal carbon surcharge was $2.63 per gigajoule. So actually, they're paying more in the carbon tax than they are for the actual fuel. Is this a common story that you're hearing from some of your members?
Oh, we hear from so many people, especially during the cold winter months, that is very, very difficult to swallow that type of bill, right? Because we're talking about the necessities in life. We're talking about people having to pay more to fuel up their car to go to work. We're talking about people who have to pay more to keep their homes warm during the cold winter months. So what's so damaging about the carbon tax is that we are punishing people for the necessities in life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we're
thanks.
10 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Now we have Ms. Taylor-Roy for up to 6 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. I found it very interesting, Professor Lee, to hear you talk about evidence-based research and to, as one of the facts you used, to say that there could be no greedflation or there could be no excess profits because Canada's food inflation is below the OECD average. But yet, our other two witnesses are arguing that it is, in fact, the Canadian price on pollution which is causing this food inflation. So I'm interested to hear from an evidence-based perspective how those two things reconcile. How is it that our food inflation is less, with our price on pollution taken into consideration, than the OECD average, and yet the price on pollution is being blamed for the increase in food prices?
Thank you for the question. There are two different issues. The OECD average, of course, is the average of the different countries, and we are below the average because there are countries above the average, and I specifically cited France, UK, and Germany, which are significantly higher, and their cost structure is even higher than Canada. I haven't looked that deeply. I've certainly looked at European countries, and especially Germany and the UK. And they have
that's okay. So I understand that, Mr. Professor Lee, and But yet you use that very fact to say that there could be no excess profits in Canada because of this, that we're below the OECD average. So I don't know how it can be argued one way and the other. And I did want to go back to some evidence-based research. So I was looking, Mr. Terrazzano, at the increase in the price in gasoline between 2021 and 2022. In fact, May 21 to May 22. It went up about 61.2 cents on average across Canada. During that same period, the price on pollution increased by 2.2 cents per litre. That left about 59 cents of increase in the average cost of gasoline across Canada, which seems to me that it's less than 3% of the increase of the total price increase. So why is it that you are saying the entire problem lies with the price on pollution, the carbon price on pollution?
Oh, it's not the entire problem. You also saw the Bank of Canada print hundreds of billions of dollars right out of thin air. So it's not the only problem. I mean, look, the whole point of the carbon tax, the whole point of the carbon tax.
Excuse me, I'm asking a specific question about the price of pollution.
Here, Ms. Taylor-Roy, Mr. Terrazzano, it is the member's time. I will certainly allow her to ask a question. There is some natural jostling back and forth, but if the member would like to go in a different line of questioning after you've had an adequate chance to respond, I have to let her do that. So we will try to make sure that we instigate that accordingly. Ms. Taylor-Roy, I'm going to turn it back to you.
In fact, when you look at the charts, what made up the increase was crude oil prices and wholesale margins on refining. It wasn't the Bank of Canada printing money. It wasn't the price on pollution. How do you explain that?
The whole point of the carbon tax, with respect, member, is to increase the price of gasoline. And quite frankly, I do think that the government must be patting itself on the back every time it drives by a Shell station and sees high gas prices.
Excuse me, Mr. Terrazzano, but you're not answering the question once again. I asked you about the 59-cent increase in the average price of gasoline over that period, while 2.2% was due to the price on pollution. 59 cents was due to the increase in crude oil prices and wholesale margins. So why aren't you focusing on that issue when you're talking about the increase in prices?
Well, with respect to the member, I think that members of parliament should control what they can control. And the number one thing that you can control is how much tax you take away from struggling families, many of whom are worried about both the price of ground beef with a jug of milk, but are also worried about how they're going to fuel up their car on the way to work. And
thank you. I understand your position. Thank you very much. So that minimal amount of the increase there, but that's interesting to note. I was also wanted to go back to you, Professor Lee, about the emphasis that's being put on the profit margin. I don't see consumers going to grocery stores and talking about profit margins. I see them talking about actual prices. And when shareholders and executives are getting compensated, they're getting compensated in dollars, which are coming from the absolute profits that are being made by these grocery stores, these chains, not by the profit margin. And just so you understand, I do have a background in finance and business, so I understand the evidence-based research. But why is it that you feel that this creating shareholder value and only focusing on shareholder value and not the other stakeholders, like the customers, like the people who work in the stores, is a valid way to operate a business?
Well, actually, I don't. For 35 years, I've taught what Michael Porter has believed and Schumpeter, that firms do not exist to make profit. They do not exist to maximize shareholder wealth. I've been teaching this in every course for 35 years. Firms exist to create a product or a service that we consumers want to buy. And if they are successful at value creation for the consumer, then yes, the price of their profits will go up and their market share will go up. But that is an outcome of successful value creation. So no, I do not celebrate shareholder value maximization. I've been a critic of it for a third of a century. The purpose of the firm is to create products or services that you and I wish to buy, and they try to differentiate their product through innovation to do that and create a better mousetrap or a better iPhone.
Thank you,
thank you very much,
Roy.
Professor Lee.
Unfortunately, we're at time. Thank you, Professor Lee. Maintenant, Monsieur Parent, 6 minutes.
Mr. Perron, for 6 minutes. Thank you very much, and thank you to the witnesses for being with us. Mr. Terrazzano, if I've understood correctly about the carbon tax, well, I would like to hear you on the following. For states, the idea is to find a balance between not creating inflation with this tax where there is no other alternative, and pollution. We have a C-234, a bill that is going to the House soon, and it will give even more exemptions for the agriculture industry. What do you think of this bill? Do you think that it will fix part of the problem that you've identified?
Very supportive. Yes, thank you, member. Very supportive. I mentioned a parliamentary budget officer report that noted that the carbon tax on propane and natural gas will cost about farmers $1 billion through 2030. I think that is a very good step in the right direction to help provide some relief at a very important time.
Merci beaucoup pour votre réponse.
Thank you for your answer. You understand the challenge of trying to be balanced and implementing policies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. If there is no action taken to protect the climate, well, then in few decades, global warming will be amplified, and then we will have more changes. Do you think it's possible for the government to take certain measures in order to ensure that there is not as much impact on the on climate change, for example, but still have make some changes with regards to policy?
Well, thank you for the question. So I understand that everyone in this room really cares about the environment, and including our panel members who are not in this room. We heard the Saskatchewan panel member who represents the ag industry there talk about how farmers really care about the environment and how they want to continue to innovate and invest in technology to help the environment. But I just don't think hammering farmers with thousands of dollars of higher taxes is really a good way to help the environment. I also heard if we take more money away from farmers who are just trying to survive and put food on our table, then they have less money to reinvest in their operations and new capital.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lee, you brought up many arguments, and you said that the grocers' profits were not all that high. We don't have the actual information, though. When we look at the gross numbers, and I understand that you're a university professor and you have very profound knowledge, more than we do, on the subject. But our work, of course, is to study these issues. We don't have access to the data. We ask the grocers to provide the Competition Bureau with detailed data. If they can't provide it to the public, because we need to do a study. Do you think that this is a reasonable request? And do you think that the Competition Bureau should increase its powers in order to impose being able to gain access to that data? Because right now they don't want to restrict anybody to giving that information to them.
Well, remember, all publicly traded companies, meaning listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange or the New York, the NASDAQ, are required by law and have been for decades to disclose and provide audited public statements to the public. And I was on this morning looking at the audited annual report of all three companies, Loblaws, Metro, and Sobeys, for 2021 and 2022. And the data's there, is as clear as day. Net profit margin is not some mystical, magical number. It's one of the core numbers used when one evaluates companies from one industry to the next, along with gross profit margin and the return on invested capital. These numbers are not secret. And when I said they're low, well, they just empirically are. There's the net profit margin of for example, food processors, wholesalers, and food processors is in the teens. Banks, pharmaceuticals. I mean, an industry.
Merci beaucoup. Je m'excuse. Excusez-moi, mais
Thank you very much, and I'm very sorry to interrupt you. I just want to specify on the profit margins. When we had witnesses here, they often told us that the pharmaceutical products are what increased their profits, their final profits. And you're saying that financial statements are public. I'm not talking about what's there to. I'm talking about the access to the of data for the Competition Bureau. That's really what I'm asking about.
I'm not sure. I mean, the Competition Bureau looks to determine if an industry is too concentrated as opposed to fragmented. Those are the two terms. A fragmented industry is where you have many, many competitors. The grocery industry, and I just looked up that data again this morning, there's over 20,000 establishments in Canada, according to StatsCan. Compare that to telecom, 3. Now, that's a concentrated industry. That's oligopolistic. But the grocery retailing, there's thousands of companies. It's not just those big 3 that we talk about. There's Whole Foods, there's Costco, there's Walmart, and so forth. So there's a great amount of competition.
Monsieur Lee,
No. Mr. Perron, very sorry, but your time is up. But thank you very much for your questions. Mr. McGregor for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for helping guide our committee through this study. I think I'd like to start my line of questioning with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and I want to expand a little bit on Ms. Taylor-Roy's last number of points. One of our witnesses in a previous panel was Jim Stanford, who provided our committee with some helpful graphs. And, I know your position on carbon pricing. I think that's no secret to anyone who's read your briefs on this. But, he was presenting data that showed, oil and gas extraction since 2019 has seen their net profits go up by over 1,000%. Petroleum refining has seen their profits since 2019 go up by 40%. Now, I understand your position on carbon pricing, but do you not think it's a bit of a disservice to Canadians if you're only focusing on carbon pricing, but not talking about how those other net profit, those massive increases are also affecting our farmers and affecting what families are paying at the pump? Do you not owe it to Canadians to maybe broaden your narrative to talk a little bit more wholeheartedly about some of those other factors, how they're causing families a lot of pain at the pump and at the grocery store?
Well, I guess my question to properly answer yours is, well, what would you be recommending? Because when I hear that type of questioning, the first thing that comes to mind is a new tax. But I have never heard of a new tax that will make groceries more affordable. In fact, tax increases make everything more expensive. So I'm very concerned whenever I hear that type of questioning. Of course, I've spoken to the person that you mentioned before. So we reject a tax hike. We categorically reject tax hikes. We don't see the problem today as Canadians not paying enough tax.
Let me hold you there. So on that point, so you're not in favor of us going after large profitable corporations. Fine. Does the Canadian Taxpayers Federation have any position on the fact that in 2021, corporations paid $31 billion less in tax than they should have? And do you not have any opinion on how that gap in revenue is passed down to working families, forcing them to shoulder more of the burden?
Well, to that I would answer, the number one thing you have to stop doing is stop handing big corporations big buckets of cash. Right? Stop the corporate welfare, because what we have seen, unfortunately, especially throughout the pandemic, taxes raised on families who can't afford it, who may have lost their job, took pay cuts, maybe even lost their small business. Now you have families who are struggling to afford the price of groceries, and we continue to see taxes go up and more announcements of the government handing buckets of cash to big corporations. We are categorically against that corporate welfare.
Yeah, no, corporate welfare, I'm glad that we can agree on that point. I think that's a good point to end this line of questioning on, so I appreciate that. Mr. Boxall, I'd like to turn to you. Thank you for appearing before our committee and providing the view from Saskatchewan. And I appreciated the emphasis you've placed on the Grocery Code of Conduct, the need for that accountability and transparency. I guess my question is, can you maybe elaborate a little bit more? Because we have heard from other producers and processors, but I'd also like to get your point of view. We know that the grocery sector in Canada is quite concentrated. The fact that roughly 80% of the market is dominated by only 5 companies. You did emphasize the fact that farmers are price takers. You don't have a lot of leeway because of your input costs, which I think a lot of them are also influenced by the high fuel prices in the line of questioning I just had to the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. But can you just talk, have you seen specific examples of how the dominance in the grocery sector, how have grocers used that, I guess, to unfairly influence their dealings with you and with other producers?
Thank you for the question. Hearing stories about, unfair trade when we have produce shipped to the big grocers and that the penalties that are paid for timely delivery and all that stuff it's been an issue. And we just want to ensure that, and I think the Grocery Store Code of Conduct will get us there, that it doesn't matter if you're a ma and pa grocery store in a small town in Saskatchewan, or if you're one of the big 3 in the city, we're all on the same playing field. That the ability to have access to and transparency around what the penalties are for delivery issues, or where we are at when it comes to the delivery of food from the producer. This only works when it, and from the wholesalers, it only works when you're delivering the food product, which farmers don't do. We just produce the natural ingredients from my farm. But, you get to Greenhouse and some of those other ones. They need to ensure that they have transparency around all the what ifs that they could face, right?
And do you get quite a shock when you go into a grocery store and you know what you've been selling your products for, and then you can see what the markup is?
I do, and that's why we're going to do this research into what is the farmer's share of the food dollar, right? So, and I do get a shock, and I don't blame solely on the carbon tax, but I will state that the carbon tax does have an effect almost on every link in the supply chain. As we know in Canada, if it's on a grocery store shelf, it was brought in by train or truck, which has a carbon tax. Do I blame that all on it? No. There's some, our input costs are huge right now, and fertilizer and fuel and chemical, and the margins that those guys are making are ridiculous as well. So it's not the only reason, but it is one.
We're going to keep it at that. Thank you, Mr. Boxall. Thank you, Mr. McGregor. Now, colleagues, we're pushing our limits on time again. I just think, in the interest of trying to make sure we are respectful of our folks here driving the meeting, that we'll shoot for about 3.5 minutes for the Conservatives and the Liberals, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes again for the Bloc and NDP, and that way we'll get a second round in. Monsieur Liu, 3 minutes.
Mr. Liu? About 3 minutes. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the witnesses for being with us this evening. My question is for all 3 witnesses with regards to the Code of Conduct. Do you believe that this Code of Conduct is important and significant? When we talk about implementing it, we often talk about a voluntary implementation or participation. Do you think that it should be voluntary or compulsory?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking all 3. Mr. Lee, you can go first.
Yes, I have dealt with this question in my classes, as you can imagine. I don't believe that you can, I don't think you should be regulating that. If we want to drive down prices, we know what the answer is. We've known it for 300 years. You introduce more competition. More firms drive down prices. Less firms, fewer number of firms allow margins to be pushed up. Secondly, in terms of the Code of Conduct, I'm not advocating that anybody act unethically, but I've been dealing with business for 40 years, and I don't know anybody in the corporate world who comes to work and says, I'm here to exploit and hurt human beings.
I'm very sorry, Mr. Lee. I'll have to interrupt you. Mr. Boxall, what do you think on the Code of Conduct? Should it be mandatory or compulsory?
I think it can be voluntary. I think they can sign on, and let's educate Canadians on what the code of conduct could do for them. And I guess at that point, I will decide which grocer I will shop from, which one is going to treat the suppliers appropriately.
Good answer.
Merci, Monsieur Tarafeza.
Thank you, Mr. Terrazzano.
I don't think I can really add any more to what has already been said.
Merci. Au niveau de la
Thank you. With regards to the tax or the carbon tax and C-234, Mr. Terrazzano, you support this bill. We've been told, especially for Quebec, that it wasn't applicable. On the contrary, I do think that there is a direct impact because we already have a taxation system in Quebec, but when we add products like propane or natural gas, there is an overtax that is added. Do you think that Quebec will lose because they will be doubly taxed?
Support the piece of legislation that would remove the carbon tax on farm propane and natural gas. Specifically about your question to Quebec, I'm not sure I have a great answer for you today, but I'm happy for us to follow up and to discuss that. I do know that the fuel taxes in Quebec are particularly harmful, though.
30 secondes, Monsieur Luc.
Oui, merci. Monsieur Boxell.
Thank you very much. Mr. Boxell, on many occasions you talked about a lack of transparency. We just mentioned that the Code of Conduct can be a useful tool. Have you got any other recommendations for the committee to improve transparency with regards to the increase of prices?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think some transparency around in the meat sector. You know, when a farmer produces a cow and it goes to a slaughter plant and it shows up on the grocery store shelf of the prices we're paying there, I think that's an easy one to look at. I think that one, you know, there's lots of links in the supply chain that could be researched. And when it comes to the farm gate, what is the price of fertilizer? What bases the price of fertilizer when most of it's made here in Western Canada and the prices we are seeing are record high? So, yeah, I think there's other avenues you could look into.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Boxell. Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Boxell and Mr. Lehoux. Mr. Langfield, welcome to the committee. Your Guelph is well known for its importance with agriculture. You have 2.5 minutes.
I want to focus on something that I think there's a connection between what Mr. Boxell was saying and what Mr. Lee was saying in terms of looking at the supply chain. And if I could start with Mr. Boxell and then go over to Mr. Lee with the time I have left on vertical integration of some of the systems that we're talking about. Mr. Boxell, I love the idea of the Grocers Code of Conduct, but it is part of the overall supply of food. You're at the very starting point of it, and the price of seeds has also gone up, and price of everything else for your inputs. Then we've got the transportation sector, and then we've got the wholesalers and distributors. You mentioned some of the policies around, talking to some of the farmers around my area that have said that some of the large chains will hold back payments and will pay on 120 days and pay at lower margins and really squeeze the people that are supplying into them. Could you maybe comment on what we could do to address food pricing as an overall system, the food system pricing?
Well, thank you for the question. And I think it starts right from the inputs that we buy at the farm. Just let's get some transparency around that, and let's look at every link in the supply chain. And we don't have a huge greenhouse sector here in Saskatchewan for me to speak to exactly the grocery store code of conduct, but I do understand that transparency around the behavior of when you have big corporations dictating how they are going to treat suppliers is an issue. And yes, maybe there's thousands of grocers in this country, but they are not treated the same, and they do not treat their suppliers the same. And I think having some transparency around how that works would be great. But I also think we can start right at the farm gate. Let's get some transparency in the whole supply chain, which would have a
very
look
limited.
into
We just don't have time. I'm sorry, but also on the credits coming back on the carbon pricing system that we have in place. The additional credits going to rural communities or people in rural areas. I think there's also an opportunity for carbon accounting on the soil, and if you're sequestering carbon, that you should be getting credit for that. There's a delta there. You're paying a tax, you're getting a credit. We don't talk about the credit so much. Could you maybe comment very quickly on that? We don't have many seconds left.
Well, I don't think we are there yet where we are being recognized for the credit side of it. And I would like to see money going into research and going into let's ensure and figure out where the carbon is being sequestered. So I think let's take research money and put it into figuring out carbon sequestration, not a tax.
University of Guelph would love to hear that, and so would the University of Saskatchewan, because they can do these things. Professor
Absolutely.
Lee, the vertical integration, we have systems now where we've got suppliers throughout the chain that are being owned by the same types of corporations, sometimes the same corporations. Could you talk about what vertical integration has done to the price of food? Oh, you're muted.
Apologies. I haven't studied vertical integration, the consequences in the food industry, but I've certainly studied it. In fact, I teach it. I just did my class on this. Vertical integration in major economies, mostly the States, the trend is towards de-integration because of market forces, and I don't have time to go into all of the reasons. The reason why we have so much vertical integration in agri-food, I think, in Canada is because of lack of competition. And it has sheltered companies and allowed them to vertically integrate. And I think it's fair to say that the research shows that companies that are vertically integrated are able to impose more market discipline, control over prices, and make more money. And so ideally, I think we want to encourage de-integration, where a firm will sell off its subsidiaries that are upstream.
I agree 100%.
Downstream.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, sir.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Lee, Monsieur Longfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee and Mr. Longfield. Now, Mr. Perron for 90 seconds. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Boxall, in your introduction, you talked about making food security a priority. 2 quick questions. Should the state recognize and financially support environmental innovation that is made on agricultural products permanently? And you also talked about price fixing and the process for that. Other witnesses talked about the urgency of having a study from the Competition Bureau on the mechanisms for fixing prices.
Thank you for the questions. I think we need research into carbon. Farmers care. We care about the environment. I had a little trouble with the interpretation on the question, and I don't remember mentioning price fixing in my introduction, but I do believe that we care about the environment, and we have for generations, and at no time, but in saying that, at no time should a policy affect production. At the end of the day, when Canada's products are needed and wanted in the world, we need to ensure that food production is top of mind, and then possibly environment second.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for your quick questions. Now, same for Mr. McGregor. 90 seconds, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Boxall, I'll turn to you just for my last question. It's also dealing with the Competition Bureau. We had them before our committee as witnesses, and they were explaining that with the allegations of bread price fixing, they're still investigating that matter. The allegations came forward. They started in 2017. It's 2023. They're still under investigation. Do you have any thoughts on whether Canada needs a strengthened Competition Bureau with more resources, a better mandate to just make sure that in heavily concentrated marketplaces there's a little bit more refereeing going on. Like maybe that works in tandem with a grocery code of conduct, but a bit more refereeing going on. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think that would work right in tandem. I think the Competition Bureau needs a little more resources, also probably needs a little more teeth. I see it at the CTA as well. When you want to talk about transportation issues in our country, I think the CTA needs more resources and more teeth too, which could help with some supply chain issues. So those are two areas that I think could help for sure.
Thank you. I'll leave it there, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. McGregor. I'm just going to ask one very quick one to Professor Lee. Thank you for preparing this document that was made available to the committee members. You referenced Loblaw's margins being about 3.7%, Empire 2.7%, and I think you introduced important testimony about food price inflation elsewhere in the world, right? This is a very nuanced conversation even within our own country, but then you lather on other jurisdictions to help give some comparative examples. That doesn't make the issue go away here, but it does give context. Do you have any sense of what retail margins would be for large supermarkets similar to Loblaw's or Empire in other jurisdictions? Have you done any research in that domain? You're on mute.
Apologies. No, I've only looked at the U.S. and I've certainly looked a lot at the U.S. and I'm talking grocery retailing. It's a very popular industry to study in strategy classes with students, that and airlines. The profit margins, and I'm talking the percentages. We're not talking dollars because of course the U.S. is 10 times bigger. Well, when you look at the margin, the ratios, the percentages, they're astonishingly similar at the grocery retailing level in the States versus Canada. It's a remarkable similarity.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. On behalf of all of you, let me thank, first of all, Professor Lee, Mr. Boxall, and Mr. Terrazzano. Thank you for your testimony today and for driving into our study. Just before you go, colleagues, Wednesday we will be in camera studying global food insecurity, the second round of that report, so please come prepared to discuss that. And then next Monday, our intention will be to continue with this study. I believe, Madam Clerk, we have confirmed the CEO from Walmart will be joining us for the first hour. The second hour, we will go in camera and continue the third round of the Global Food Insecurity Report, along with some reflections back to our analysts to get them started on this particular report. So at least we can get them moving in that direction. Finally, with your indulgence, given the fact that the budget is coming on Tuesday, lots for us to pour over as members of Parliament, I would propose that we break on that particular day and then come back at it in earnest in April, unless there's any real strong objections to that. Or we can discuss before heading into next week if you'd like. So, okay, I don't see any strong objections. That'll be the pathway we take. We'll see everyone on Wednesday. Thank you to our witnesses. Meeting adjourned.